My story. My story starts probably back in 2016. Um, that's really when the mental health issues really started to come to light. Um, I started out in June, June time frame 2016. I started to notice around May that I was starting to get really bad anxiety over certain things, and it wasn't just like social anxiety or anything. It was just I was very manipulative of myself, and um, I was overthinking every single thing that I did, and I really started to think about it that it was becoming a problem. I'd probably need help for it, but I pushed it away, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made. Um, and then in June of 2016, June 10th to be exact, I ended up rolling my car, which made my anxiety and added PTSD to the mix. Made my anxiety really bad for driving, uh, for self confidence because I felt like I failed myself, that I couldn't control a vehicle properly, even though it wasn't my fault. I'm always hard on myself. Um, so after that accident, I went through very uh, intensive physical rehab, mental rehab. I went through chiropractors. I went through uh, physiotherapy, and then I also reached out to a psychologist because I couldn't deal with my problems by myself. And that is the most important step. I'm getting out of off track here, but that's the most important step to noticing things. When you notice things, do not let them fester. Always bring them to light, because if you let them fester and you don't speak up about them, they're going to get worse and worse, and issues are going to start to pile up and pile up, and it's going to become unbearable. But you have to push through. You have to notice that things getting worse, and you have to bring them to light. So when I saw the psychologist, I started seeing him in maybe August time frame of 2016, and I had weekly sessions talking about my PTSD, my self-confidence, my overthinking. It wasn't just all about the car accident, it was everything. It was everything from overthinking small things, like stupid things that I think in the shower. Everybody overthinks, but it would get really severe. Like, I always think over every single action I did, every bodily action, every thought that went through my mind, every small thing. And it got to a point where the racing thoughts were just controlling my day to day life. So I had to get help. Seeing the psychologist in August, it was a new experience, but I'm glad I did it because if I hadn't have made that move to go and see a psychologist, I don't know where I would have been today. So I had weekly visits through August, September, October, November, and December. I got to a point where I thought I didn't need help anymore, so I canceled my subscription or whatever you want to call it through the psychologist. I pushed it off and I went on with life. I thought it was good. Went through all 2017, still had racing thoughts, still had a lot of overthinking, had bits of depression throughout the summer of 2017. But I pushed it off and I didn't think it was anything serious, but it was starting to build up and build up. And then, so I was really struggling through 2017, but I really didn't do anything as far as psychologist-wise for 2017. But as 2018 hit, I was into a new job that I started back in July of 2017 at a local business in town, and I really started to notice the way they treat you at certain places can affect your mental well-being. And the way I was treated was to a point where I felt like I wasn't good enough to be in my job position. Every little thing that I did, I thought that I was going to be yelled at for because it wasn't up to company standards. The superiors or assistant managers at this job treated you like absolute crap, and it really got to me. My mental well-being went downhill really fast. It got to a point in February 2018 where I had to take a leave from work from February 9th to March 28th, to be exact. I was out of work. I was in a really bad place. I had really bad thoughts. My racing thoughts were beyond imaginable. Depression started to kick in. That's when I made the move to go see a doctor to get on medication. So right now I'm on medication for anxiety, stress relief, and just other additives to it. And being out for that time period, I noticed like nervous tics starting to happen, and my physical appearance started to dwell. I lost a bunch of weight. I wasn't eating anymore, and it was just really negatively affecting me. So those 2 months that I had off was kind of a rehabilitation thing where I had to really focus on myself and made sure that I wasn't going to give up, because that's the last thing I would ever want to do. I always had a happy life through all my childhood, and my friends. I had lots of friends, lots of family that cared about me. I was involved in sports and everything. So being in that dark place really was a negative spot in my life. Up until now, I'm still on medication. I'm currently attending firefighting at Holland College, so I've gotten that far. I pushed through these 2 years. I've gone from about 20% to 80%. I'm getting a lot better day to day, but I still have my daily struggles. I still overthink quite a bit. My anxiety is really bad, but it's helped with medication, as long with behavioral practices such as deep breathing, essential oils, and just simple day-to-day reminders, like positive reminders, not to think so negatively. The biggest issue I have right now is the negativity behind the stigma of mental health. And back in probably March time frame, I started a company, and it was originally called Fuck the Stigma, but now it's called Stand Up to Stigma. And the basis behind this company is to end the stigma of mental health, because the stigma of mental health is a big problem right now. Stigma means a mark of disgrace associated with any particular circumstance, quality, or person. And there really shouldn't be a mark of disgrace behind mental health, because it's a serious issue. Mental health is not something to joke about. It's something to take very seriously, because people think that people with mental issues are just people that are seen as crazy people, but it's not. That's nothing anywhere compared to what people were comparing people to. There's so many disorders out there, so many illnesses that people shouldn't be making fun of, and they're actual disorders. They're not people just saying, oh, I have anxiety because I'm nervous about something. Anxiety is a real thing, as long as bipolar disorder, depression. Depression isn't something you just get day to day when you feel down. It's something that's diagnosed. There's split personality disorder. There's so many disorders out there that the list can go on. But to get to the point is, if people didn't think so negatively about mental health and think that, oh, I can't speak up because people are going to make fun of me. People are going to think that I have problems, I can't deal with it. I'm seen as weak. That is a big problem in today's society. Today's generation, they think so negatively with the stigma that they think that people that have mental health issues are just failures in life and they cannot go anywhere and they will never be able to get help, and think that suicide is always the answer for those people. But that is wrong. Suicide is never the answer. Never the answer for anything. It's something that people see as their last resort, but I see it as the final symptom of mental health, and it should never get to the final symptom. If you catch your slips early, then it should never get to that state. So, my biggest problem right now is just people being so negatively, not reaching out a hand. If you have someone close to you that is experiencing mental health issues, if you notice people posting stuff like, "Oh, I want to kill myself," or "Oh, I had such a bad day," just using the term "I want to kill myself" so loosely, like, bring it up. Don't, like, just message them privately. Don't start a conflict, but bring it up, saying you might want to think about how you're posting stuff, because it can be portrayed as something very negatively in society. You can't, just because you're living a happy life and you can deal with your problems other ways, doesn't mean what you're posting isn't affecting other people. Just imagine there was no stigma behind mental health. Virtually everybody knows someone with some sort of mental illness. There's so many illnesses out there, and we are surrounded people that hide these illnesses inside them. They look at you normally, but inside they're clogged up with issues. There's so much negativity behind mental illness, and that negativity makes people want to, like, they think they cannot help, they can't call out for help because society would see them as weak, like I said before. That's the problem. People need to ignore the stigma, step forward, be strong for themselves, push through, and just because you have a mental illness, be strong. You're not seen as weak because you have a mental illness. If you can admit that you have problems, that's being strong for yourself, being strong for the people around you, being strong for the people that love you,